Welcome back. And today we shall study data frames, and we'll start with simply creating a data frame. And this lecture could be a little lengthy, but be with me because it's really interesting. And I might also take two parts of this, okay? Because we will see how to deal with data frames and length here. So in today's lecture, the agenda is just assigning data frames and accessing a few functions which we can perform here. So first let's create a data frame, and I'll use the operation C here, and let's create name of few students. Like I'll take Rosie, I take Priya, and let's take John, let's take Varun, let's take one more name, and let it be Max. Okay. So like, okay, let it be equal. Let's take six names and let one be shiny. Three boys, three girls, three boys. Okay. Another thing is age. Let's assign one more variable here and give age here, and we take here 24. Like in the range of 20 to 30. Let's take sorry. Let this person be 27, 26. Okay, 3, and we want to assign two more and let it be 28 and 29. So six students and six here values. Then another variable which we can take is majors. So let's have three columns, and in the majors I can simply add like, okay, arts, I can add maths, another one with physics. Okay, another one could be economics. I think we are done with this, and four. Okay, two more to go, and one. Let us take finance. Not taken bio or chemistry. Let's take computers. So this is. I'll just run this, and we hit shift and enter. Now let's create a data frame. Here I would create variable called df, wherein it will store the data frame. So for that I will use the function called data.frame in R, and in that I will pass all these values. That means the different variables that we have created: name, age, and majors. Okay, and let's run this and call your df. Let's just call it here itself, and you can see that the data frame is being created with three columns and multiple rows. Now let's just check the dimension of this. Let's just check the dimension of my data frame. Dimension means the rows and the columns. So you can simply use the function called din and pass the data frame name. So it gives me 6 rows and 3 columns. Yeah. Okay. Now I want to show you another function here, which you can also use here. You can also write here show df, which will show you your data frame in this format, wherein it shows you the number of your rows also. So just there's a difference between show df and a simple df. In simple df, it will be displayed as a data frame in rows and column format, which is much tidier and neat to see. Whereas in show df, you would also see 1, 2, 3 for the sequence numbers of the rows. Now let's check another thing here, and that is summary. Now this is a statistical operation which we are just exploring, peeping into our data. And the summary simply means that we get here the mean, median, minimum value, maximum value, and the quartiles. So this is usually very beneficial when you are dealing with numeric data type like age. So you get the age, the minimum value is 24 and the maximum is 29. So somewhere the range is 24 to 29. The first quartile, as you can see, and the third quartile is 27.75. We'll deal with these quartiles and everything in the later lectures. But for time being, let us understand that the summary gives you statistical details of your data frame, especially the numeric. For numeric data types, it is very useful. You can find the mean also. The mean age is 26.50. Okay, and you can see for the character data type, you've got the numbers. Suppose if art majors was 7 or 6, it would have given us the number of counts here, the maximum and the minimum. Okay, alright. So now let's move on to another important part, which is accessing the items, or I can also say this is data extraction. Data extraction from the data frame. So how do we do that in R, right? So there are three ways actually to do this, and the number one way is using the dollar operator, another is using the square brackets, and the third is, or I can just write it here, and the third one is using double squares. Okay, so these are the ways wherein you can extract your data from your data frames. Let's see one by one these data frames. I've written something which I will tell you a little later. And okay, so let's just start with understanding the dollar sign. So I just simply give my data frame name and I use this dollar operator and I write here the column names, suppose names. Okay, I write here names and see what it gives me. It gives me the levels which are inside the names. So if you want to see your data frame again, you see here in the names, within these names, these are the different levels, Rosie, Priya, and so on. So this is giving me the dollar sign within names, what all are my values stored. You can use this for, finding out the age also, like we've taken age. So this will give you the values which are within this column. Now another way of data extraction is your single square brackets. Okay, this is something really very interesting. Please pay attention here. So we will write here, suppose majors, right? We have created one column, and in majors you get the entire column along with the rows in this format. What if I simply use majors with double quotes also, or with double square brackets? I get it in a different format, okay, in row wise, and this gives me levels also, right? So there's a difference between, there's very stark difference between, single and double square brackets. But before that, I want to show you one more thing because it is linked with this only. So let us just quickly deal with that, and then we will understand the difference between the two. So I just want to retrieve, suppose, the different individual elements. So I will retrieve the name. Suppose I want Priya from my data frame. What do? I will just first convert this into a comment, and then let's just retrieve the name Priya. How would I do that? I know that in my data frame, this Priya is in which column? If you can see, this is the second row and the first column. So I would simply mention here in the DF, second row, first column, and it has given me Priya. So if you know the index position, you can provide it here and it will return you the same thing. Now suppose I want to retrieve, I'm just making use of simple square brackets. I'm not using here double brackets because I want to show you the difference here shortly. Now suppose I want two columns, so I will simply provide 1:2. So this just gives me the entire two columns of my data frame. Okay, now I will come on to the difference between the two, right? Yeah. So for this, I have to take you to understand how do we do this. Now, just bear with me because I have to, yeah, it is here. So I will not write the explanation, I will just read it out, but let's first understand this with practical exercise and how do we really understand this and do this. So I'm just fixing a few things here on my ends. Bear with me. Okay. Yeah. So what I do is I would instead of going again and seeing my data frame, I just call my data frame here. This is the DF, and I know there are 6 rows and 3 columns. So what I do is now what I do, I create a variable called a. Let us understand this, and in that I just okay, I want to retrieve suppose the name, so I just write here 1 and I ask the class of A, right? I'm using these simple square brackets here. Another thing which I will do is I will again use in this variable I will assign the double quotes, and again I will use the same column which I'm using in the above, so that the distinction is clearly made and we understand this thing. So in the first one, we understand A as a data frame. The entire class is returned. What is this DF? Like, it is a data frame, and in this data frame, the inside elements or the rows, these values, these are factors. Remember this thing because we are going to deal with this in the later part of a lecture, that this is a factor here. It has treated this as a factor because in our data frame we have not set that as false. I will show you the difference and the problem it creates if we do not set it as false. So this is again another data type in R which we will deal in coming lectures. So this has been treated as the factors. Now suppose you can just simply change this and see the results for yourself. I just change the column 2 and this gives me numeric. So this age is in numeric, and what about majors? So just check it here. What about majors? This is again a factor. Okay, remember this thing because we will be using this in later lectures also. So now the difference, now coming to the difference, what happens here that a single bracket and the double bracket both are used for extraction of the data. But what happens here is that this single bracket or the single square bracket, it returns the object of class, okay, list. That means what object this is, and this is a data frame. So it returns me a data frame, okay. Class list, or I can say the class that I have created, that means a DF, my class, my data frame. And this double square brackets, they return the object of these class. That what is the data type of these class. So this returns me the factor. Okay. So within the class, what is the class of those objects? Simple as that. Alright, so this is a factor. Remember this, that I am stressing upon this because we're gonna change this very soon. Okay, another way I would just tell you is now we would check our data type, check the class and check the class and the type of thing. Let's understand the type of and class also. So I would simply use it now. Simply use class of DF. This is another way to check, and just write the type of DF. So what you will get. The first one is the class is data frame and the type is list. Now coming to the difference between the two again. So here we are covering a lot of difference because we are facing a few different results. It should return the same, but it is not. What happens here is that the output of the class for the data frame is here. You can say that it is a list because this is how the values are being stored in the memory, and this is represented in data frame, right? So I will provide this sheet. Don't worry, you will get the explanations also, so you don't have to worry about that. So this is just simply understand the class we created is a data frame, but the type of my data which is being stored in the memory is in a form of a list. Alright, so this tells you how R is functioning in the backend. Alright, so now for this lecture, this is a basic exploration of a data frame where we just go on creating a data frame, and we have checked the dimensions. We have accessed the elements, the items through three different ways. We have understood the difference between the square brackets and double square brackets, and also we have checked the class. Now, one thing we would continue in the next lecture would be from the factor part, that why is it a factor, a different data type, and how we can deal with this. And also we will understand how to add new rows and columns to our data frame, rename a few columns, and so on.